The sound of clinking glasses filled my parents' dining room. My sister Ava sat at the head of the table, glowing with confidence as she told everyone about her latest promotion. "Regional director," she announced, tossing her hair back like she was in a commercial. Mom clapped proudly. Dad nodded with approval. Then Mom turned to me. "And how's your art studio going, Emily?" Before I could answer, Ava laughed. "Oh, please. Emily's probably still crying over her failed exhibition." Everyone chuckled politely. My stomach twisted. I smiled weakly. "Actually, I've been working with some new clients." Ava cut me off. "Clients? You mean the one lady who pays you in homemade candles?" Laughter again. I felt my face burn. That night, I lay awake replaying her words. Too emotional. Too soft. Too naive. The same insults I'd heard since childhood. But this time, something changed inside me. I whispered into the dark, "You'll regret underestimating me, Ava. I promise." The next morning, I packed my old sketchbooks and drove to the small co-working space I rented downtown. The space was bare, white walls, one desk, a buzzing light, but to me, it was freedom. I'd been freelancing for years, designing branding for small businesses. Most saw me as a hobbyist. Ava made sure of that. But lately, I'd been working quietly with a real estate developer who loved my work. One day, after a meeting, he said, "You ever think about starting your own agency?" The thought scared me, but thrilled me too. That night, I filed the paperwork for MB Creative. I didn't tell anyone. Not even my parents. Especially not Ava. While she flaunted her promotion on social media, I poured every waking hour into my new business, sleeping 4 hours a night, sketching until my fingers cramped. When the first client wire hit my account, $20,000, I cried. Not from weakness. From validation. For once, my emotions felt like power. Ava called me 2 weeks later, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "Hey, Em. Mom said you're still doing that little art thing. You should come to my office. We might have a position for you. Assistant level, of course." I clenched my jaw. "Thanks, but I'm good where I am." She laughed. "Emily, you've always been too emotional for the real world. You can't take rejection without crying." I hung up mid-sentence. Later that night, I opened my laptop and stared at the glowing MB Creative logo. "Too emotional," I repeated, my voice steady this time. "That's what makes me unstoppable." The next few months were a blur of phone calls, designs, and long nights. My work began attracting attention, quietly, behind the scenes. My client base grew from 1 developer to 5 major companies. But I didn't post a thing online. I wanted silence. Let her believe nothing had changed. Because when I finally made my move, it would be loud. 6 months later, Ava announced she was moving into corporate real estate marketing, a huge career leap, as she called it. Mom threw another dinner. I went, mostly to keep the peace. "So, Ava said across the table. Still doodling logos for Etsy sellers?" I forced a smile. "Something like that." She rolled her eyes. "You should really learn to toughen up, you know. This world doesn't reward emotions, it rewards results." Dad nodded in agreement. The sting was instant. That night, I stopped by my office after dinner. The city was quiet, the streets empty, but my heart was racing. On my desk sat 3 new contracts, one from a luxury condo developer, one from a global fashion brand, and one from Lux Vista Properties. Lux Vista's marketing division had just been acquired by a larger group. They needed a full creative rebrand. My agency had won the contract. And Ava? She worked for them. When I saw her name in the internal email thread the next morning, I froze. Ava Richards. Senior Marketing Executive, Lux Vista Properties. For a moment, I thought it was a mistake. But then the truth sank in. My company had been hired to lead her department's rebrand. I leaned back in my chair, pulse racing. You wanted results, Ava? I whispered. Let's give you some. The kickoff meeting was scheduled for Friday. She'd have no idea I was the one behind MB Creative until then. That week, I worked non-stop, perfecting the presentation, memorizing every detail. My team didn't know the personal stakes, they just thought it was another client. When Friday came, I walked into Lux Vista's glass boardroom, heart pounding. Ava was already there, laughing with her colleagues. Then she looked up, and froze. Emily, she stammered. I smiled. Good morning, Ava. I'll be leading today's meeting. For a long second, Ava didn't speak. The room was so quiet you could hear the projector hum. Then she forced a tight laugh. Wait, you're the creative director? Of this project? Yes, I said evenly. MB Creative was contracted for your rebrand. Her smile twitched, but she quickly recovered. Oh. Well, I didn't realize you'd come this far. I opened my slides, pretending not to notice the awkward glances between her team members. Let's begin. As I spoke, confidence replaced nerves. Every word, every design, every idea was polished. Ava sat stiffly, her fake smile glued on. When the meeting ended, the VP shook my hand. Brilliant work, Emily. We're thrilled to have you leading this. Ava didn't say a word. In the hallway afterward, she caught up to me. This is my department, she whispered sharply. Don't embarrass me. I met her glare. Then don't underestimate me. Her jaw tightened. For the first time, I saw something new in her eyes, fear. Ava began to make my job harder. Emails went unanswered. Feedback arrived late. She even forgot to forward key information. At first, I tried to stay calm. My team depended on me to stay professional. But late one night, while reviewing edits, I saw something that made my blood boil. Ava had removed my name from the creative approval chain and replaced it with hers. I sent her a message. Ava, we need to talk. Now. Her reply came fast. This is corporate life, Emily. Learn to handle it. I stared at the screen, shaking. All my childhood memories of being dismissed, talked over, and laughed at came flooding back. But this time, I refused to shrink. I called the VP directly, calmly explaining the issue. Within an hour, Ava's mistake was corrected. The next morning, she walked into the office, her face pale. You went over my head, she hissed. No, I said softly. I did my job. For once, she had no comeback. Over the next few weeks, things shifted. Slowly, subtly, the team started turning to me instead of her. My ideas landed. My strategies impressed the higher-ups. Ava's confidence began to crack. During one presentation, she interrupted me mid-sentence. I think we should go with a safer design. Emily tends to be a bit emotional in her choices. The VP frowned. Emotional? Her designs just won our investors' approval. Ava's smile faltered. After the meeting, she cornered me in the elevator. You're enjoying this, aren't you? I looked her dead in the eye. I'm enjoying being respected. The doors opened. I stepped out before she could respond. That night, as I drove home, I couldn't stop smiling. I wasn't out for revenge, not exactly. I just wanted her to feel what I'd felt my whole life, underestimated. But part of me knew, Ava wouldn't go down quietly. And I was right. A week later, I got a call from HR. Hi Emily, we've had a few concerns raised about your tone in meetings. My heart sank. I knew exactly who filed those concerns. When I asked for specifics, the HR rep hesitated. Apparently, someone feels you've been aggressive? Aggressive. The word hit me like a slap. Ava's old trick, twisting emotion into weakness. I calmly presented my recordings, meeting notes, and email trails. HR's tone changed immediately. Thank you for clarifying, Ms. Hale. We'll review this. Later, the VP called me directly. Emily, ignore the noise. Your work's excellent. In fact, we're recommending you for a long-term retainer. That was the moment I realized Ava's power was slipping. The next morning, she walked past me in the hallway, pretending not to see me. But I caught the tremor in her hand. The woman who once called me too emotional was losing control, and I hadn't even started the real lesson yet. The next project milestone arrived, a live brand showcase for Lux Vista's board and investors. I was in charge of presenting the full rebrand vision. Ava had to introduce me. She stood on stage, microphone in hand, forcing a smile. Our next presenter is my sister, Emily Hale, from MV Creative. The audience clapped politely. I stepped up beside her and whispered, "Relax, Ava. Emotions make us human." Her jaw tightened as I took the mic. I began the presentation, walking them through every concept, design, and emotional hook behind the campaign. The room was silent, completely engaged. When I finished, the board members stood up in applause. The CEO came forward, shaking my hand. "Exceptional work, Ms. Hale. We'll be extending our contract for another year." Ava's smile froze. As cameras flashed, I leaned slightly toward her. Guess my emotions paid off after all. She turned away, eyes glassy. But deep down, I knew she was only getting started. And so was I. Perfect. This next part, chapters 11 to 15, dives into the core tension and escalation. Ava's manipulation hits harder, Emily faces emotional testing, and the groundwork for her final triumph begins to form. Each chapter continues the cinematic flow, high emotional stakes, realism, and a growing sense of poetic revenge. 11. After the presentation, my inbox filled with congratulations. But I knew better than to celebrate too soon. Ava stayed quiet for days, too quiet. Then, one night, I got an alert from my finance manager. "Emily, did you approve this expense?" Attached was a wire request, $40,000, marked Lux Vista Project, A. Richards authorization. My stomach dropped. Ava had tried to use our agency's internal billing system to process a fake expense. I immediately froze the account and called the bank. The next morning, I confronted her in the hallway. "Why did you try to access our funds?" She smirked. "Oh, come on. It's just a misunderstanding. I was helping speed things up." "You forged my authorization." Her face darkened. "You wouldn't dare report me." But I already had. Quietly, through the proper channels. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I just let the system do its work. And for once, my silence scared her more than words ever could. Ava didn't come to work for 3 days. When she finally returned, she looked tired, makeup heavy, smile forced. Rumor spread that she'd been reprimanded. At home, Mom called me out of nowhere. "Emily, what happened between you and your sister?" She said, "You're trying to ruin her career." I took a deep breath. "Mom, she's been undermining me for months." Mom sighed. "You're both adults. Don't let emotions ruin family ties." There it was again, emotions. The word that had always been used against me. "Mom," I said gently, "this isn't about emotions. It's about respect." After we hung up, I sat by my window for a long time. I still loved my family, even Ava, but love didn't mean letting people walk over me. That night, I got an email from Lux Vista's CEO's assistant. "The board would like to meet with you privately next week." Something told me things were about to shift, permanently. The meeting was held in a sleek corner office overlooking the city. The CEO, Mr. Langford, greeted me warmly. "Emily, your work has been nothing short of transformative. We'd like to expand our partnership." As he spoke, I noticed Ava sitting silently at the end of the table, pale and fidgeting. Mr. Langford continued, "Given your leadership, we're considering outsourcing all our creative and digital operations to your firm." I almost couldn't breathe. That meant Ava's department, her entire division, would soon report through me. Ava's eyes widened as the words sank in. Mr. Langford smiled. "We'll need full cooperation from internal marketing, of course. Ava, you'll coordinate with Emily's team. Yes, sir, she said weakly. When the meeting ended, she stormed out ahead of me. In the hallway, she turned. You planned this, didn't you? I met her gaze. No, Ava. I earned this. For once, she had nothing left to say. The following weeks were surreal. My company expanded fast, adding designers, strategists, and developers. Our logo was now on Lux Vista's headquarters wall, right beside Ava's office door. She started avoiding me completely. When she couldn't avoid me, she was icy, professional, distant. But I saw the strain in her eyes every time someone praised my work. Then one afternoon, her assistant slipped up, accidentally forwarding me an internal email chain. Ava had been secretly applying to other firms, trying to leave Lux Vista before her demotion became official. I sat there reading her words, her frustration, her bitterness, her disbelief that I'd made it. Instead of gloating, I felt something different, pity. She'd spent her whole life trying to be the strongest in the room, while I'd just learned how to stay standing. That night, I drafted a message to the CEO. Let's finalize the acquisition paperwork. It was time for the final reveal. The boardroom was full again, same room, different energy. This time I wasn't just leading a project. I was finalizing a merger. Mr. Langford stood, smiling proudly. As of today, Lux Vista's creative division will officially operate under MV Creative Group. Applause filled the room. I looked across the table at Ava. She sat frozen, color draining from her face. Then the CEO added, and for transparency, Ava, your department will now transition under MV's management. Payroll will reflect the change immediately. Ava blinked. Wait, so, you mean, my paycheck? I smiled softly. Will come from my company. Yes. The silence that followed was thick. I didn't gloat. I didn't smirk. I just extended my hand. Welcome aboard, Ava. She didn't take it. But that was fine, because in that moment, I realized, my revenge wasn't about hurting her. It was about proving her wrong. And I already had. Ava didn't speak to me for weeks after the merger. When we crossed paths in the hallway, she'd look past me like I didn't exist. I didn't mind. Silence was better than venom. But at home, the family tension exploded. Mom called one Sunday afternoon, her tone sharp. Emily, what did you do to your sister? She's devastated. She says you stole her job. I sighed. Mom, I didn't steal anything. My company earned that contract. Still, she pressed, she's your sister. Maybe you could help her get her position back? I almost laughed. Help her? After everything she's done? There was a long pause. You've changed, Emily, Mom said quietly. Maybe I had. I'd stopped apologizing for being emotional. After the call, I sat in my office, looking out at the skyline. For the first time in my life, I felt free. But part of me still wondered, would Ava ever admit she was wrong? I didn't know it yet, but she had one more move left to play. And it would test me like nothing before. It happened 2 weeks later. My assistant rushed in, holding her phone. Emily, you need to see this. A social media post was going viral. Ava had written a long rant accusing me of using family connections to take her job. She even hinted that I'd stolen her ideas. Thousands of comments flooded in, many siding with her. My hands shook as I scrolled through the hate. Too emotional. Too dramatic. Typical. For a moment, I almost cried. Then I stopped myself. Instead of responding, I drafted a calm public statement. I've always believed in letting hard work speak for itself. Every success my company has achieved is built on honesty, late nights, and resilience. I wish my sister the best and hope she finds peace. It wasn't angry. It wasn't petty. It was honest. By evening, major news outlets had picked up my side. My quiet dignity had said more than her outburst ever could. And for the first time, the internet saw Ava for what she really was. The mask had finally cracked. The fallout hit Ava fast. Lux Vista's HR department called her in for questioning. Clients began distancing themselves. By Friday, she'd been asked to take a temporary leave of absence. Mom called again, this time crying. Emily, she's packing her things. She says she can't stay in the city anymore. I stayed silent for a moment. Part of me wanted to rush to her side. Another part whispered, she made her bed. I hope she finds what she's looking for, I finally said. That night, I drove by the old neighborhood where we'd grown up. The streetlights glowed dimly, casting long shadows over the houses. I remembered the little girl Ava used to be, the one who held my hand when I was scared of thunderstorms. Somewhere along the way, that sister disappeared. I parked the car and whispered into the dark, I forgive you, Ava. Even if you'll never say sorry. It felt like letting go of a weight I didn't know I was still carrying. Weeks passed. My company kept growing, faster than I'd dreamed. We signed new international clients, opened a second office, and hired dozens of employees. Then one morning, my receptionist buzzed me. Emily, there's someone here to see you. I stepped out, and froze. Ava stood there, clutching a folder, her eyes red but steady. I'm not here to fight, she said softly. I just wanted to give you this. Inside the folder were old sketches, mine. From when we were kids. She'd kept them all these years. You always had talent, she murmured. I just didn't want to admit it. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then she looked up. I lost myself trying to prove I was better. You were just being real. Tears filled my eyes. Ava. She smiled faintly. Don't say anything. Just keep doing what you're doing. Then she walked away, leaving me holding the proof that maybe, just maybe, she'd finally understood. I stared at the folder for a long time after she left. Each page was a memory, my dreams, my fears, the messy emotions I'd once tried to hide. A few days later, I received an email from her. Thank you for not destroying me when you could have. I've started therapy. Maybe one day we can talk. I didn't reply right away. I just sat in my office, tears rolling down my cheeks, not from pain this time, but from peace. My emotions, the thing I was mocked for all my life, had become my strength. They'd guided me through the fire without burning me. As the sun set over the city skyline, I whispered, being emotional didn't make me weak. It made me human. And that was something Ava, and the whole world, finally saw. But little did I know, one last twist was waiting. A chance to prove that forgiveness can be the strongest kind of power there is. A few months later, life had settled into something I never thought I'd have, calm. My business was thriving, my team was growing, and for once, success didn't feel heavy. Then one morning, my HR manager walked into my office holding a resume. You might want to see this, she said with a smile. The name on top made my breath catch. Ava Richards. She was applying for a creative consulting position at MV Creative. My first instinct was disbelief. Then came curiosity. When I called her for an interview, she actually showed up, nervous but composed. I know this is strange, she began, but I've been working on myself. I want a fresh start. Not as your sister. As someone who can learn from you. I studied her for a moment. The pride, the sharpness, all gone. In its place stood someone raw, humbled, human. All right, I said finally. Let's see where this goes. Her eyes softened. Thank you. And for the first time in years, it didn't feel like a power shift. It felt like healing. Working with Ava again was awkward at first. She kept her distance, always professional, never overstepping. But slowly, she began to show a side of herself I'd never seen before, curious, creative, even kind. One afternoon, I found her in the break room sketching. I forgot how much I love this, she said with a small laugh. I sat beside her. You used to draw better than I did. She looked surprised. You really think so? I nodded. You just stopped believing it. She smiled faintly, eyes glistening. I used to think being strong meant hiding how I felt. Turns out, it just made me mean. Her honesty broke something open between us. For the first time in years, we talked, not as rivals, but as sisters. Later that night, I looked around my bustling office, the laughter, the hum of creation, and realized that maybe the best revenge wasn't dominance. It was growth. And we were both finally doing it. One day, we got invited to speak at a women's business summit. The organizers wanted both of us, me for my entrepreneurial story, Ava for her journey of rebuilding. Standing side by side on that stage, I could feel the irony. The audience didn't know our history, but our story was written in every glance we exchanged. Ava spoke first. I used to think emotions were weakness. But the truth is, they're our compass. My sister taught me that, though I didn't make it easy for her. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Then it was my turn. I smiled. I spent years thinking success meant proving people wrong. But it's really about proving to yourself that you can rise without losing your heart. The applause was thunderous. As we walked off stage, Ava whispered, "You did it, Emily." I turned to her. "No, we did." And in that moment, the years of rivalry and resentment finally dissolved into something stronger, respect. After the summit, everything felt lighter. Our parents came to visit my new office. Mom looked around in awe. "I can't believe this is yours," she said softly. Ava joined us, holding coffee for everyone. Mom pulled us both into a hug. "I'm proud of you girls. Both of you." For the first time, I believed her. Later that evening, Ava and I sat on the balcony watching the city lights flicker. "Remember when you said I'd regret underestimating you?" she asked with a shy smile. I laughed. "Yeah. I guess I was right." She nodded. "You were. But I'm glad you didn't give up on me either." We sat in silence, the cool breeze brushing our faces, the old bitterness replaced by something gentler. I realized then that revenge had never been the point. It was about standing up, growing up, and showing that kindness and strength could coexist. And finally, they did. Months later, on a quiet Friday, I walked through the office as my team celebrated another big client win. The walls were filled with laughter, energy, life. Ava came over, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you might need this," she said. "Thanks," I replied. "How's your new project going?" She grinned. "Surprisingly well. Turns out being emotional makes me pretty good at connecting with clients." I smiled. "Told you so." We stood there, watching the team we'd both helped build. For once, I didn't see her as competition. I saw her as part of my story, a reminder of where I came from and how far I'd gone. As the sun streamed through the windows, I whispered, "You were right about one thing, Ava. Emotions don't belong in business, unless you know how to use them." She laughed softly. "And you? You mastered that." Maybe I had. Because I'd learned the ultimate truth, sometimes the best revenge isn't winning. It's healing. And I'd done both.